All right, we are live. This is weird. This is the first time I've ever gone live on like any platform ever. So hopefully this all works out for everybody. Hi, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. I'm guessing that if you're watching this live, you're probably not new here. I see that we have a couple people here already. That's awesome. Let me know where you're coming from in the chat. I know that we have people all over the world, especially UK, Australia, West Coast people. Let me know where you're coming from. I know this was hard to find a time that would work for everybody, but I think that Saturday morning is sort of a nice time to kind of like have some coffee, check in, and you know, talk. All right. So first things first, I wanted to do this partly just to have an opportunity to sort of check in live and connect. Leah from Flanzella actually gave me the idea to do a live stream. I had never really thought about doing this before, but she has had some success doing that on her channel. I actually tuned into her live stream earlier this week and it was super fun. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to connect with you guys. Excuse me. And also, as I make an effort to address as many comments as I can, but it's since the kitchen video kind of blew up and my subscriber count went from like 2,000 to like 18,000, it's been harder to keep up with comments, especially lately. I've been a little bit burned out lately. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of address some of those questions if you asked something in the comments and didn't get that answered. So I put out some questions over on Instagram as well as on um, the like YouTube community tab, and I have some questions in front of me. Um, and of course, if you want to add anything in the chat, oh, now I'm now seeing the chat. Okay, wow. I see people: Germany, Santa Cruz, Oregon, Minneapolis, South Carolina, Iowa. Hi someone in NYC where it's raining like crazy. I'm happy to not be there through that, but good luck with that. Um, very cool. So I'm just going to start addressing some questions. I see one here first, and then I'll address some of the ones that were put over on Instagram and here. Let's see. Why have you chose to live in the town you do instead of the city? So I ended up here. My parents live here, so it's nice to be close to them. Um, I think I also, so it's for those that don't know, I was living in New York City prior to moving here in 2020 during COVID and all of that. That was part of my decision. I wanted to be in a place that was a little bit more open, and smaller towns seemed to have more of that at that time. I also, when I was living in New York, I knew, I don't know. So we'll get into this a little bit later, but I am a dancer and a choreographer. And at that time I was dancing a lot outside of the city. I would be in DC for 2 months or Chicago for 2 months. And every time I would come back to New York, I'd be like, why am I here? It's just, city life is tough. The cost of living is tough. Living with roommates, which isn't built into the cost of living, or at least it was in New York City for me. So to be able to live in a place that's a little bit more spread out and where I'm able to afford my own home is awesome. So yeah, that's been a big part of my decision to move here. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, I think. Jim asks, how is Queenie? Queenie is good. She is here. She's being quiet so far. Hopefully she won't be loud here. Sometimes when I get on Zoom calls and stuff, she demands attention. So hopefully she'll be quiet for us here, which brings us to one of my Instagram questions. Someone asked about, I'm just looking at my notes here. Courtly says that she's here for Queenie. I have a rescue that looks just like her. Any Queenie DIY Halloween fits in the future? Yes, not this next video, but the following video I think will be some DIY thrift flip Halloween costumes for Queenie, because I think that we all need to see that and it would be fun. And hopefully I'll get that out soon enough that if you are looking for ideas for pet costumes for yourself, that you can maybe take some inspiration from that. I have been to PetSmart and Walmart and those sorts of places and been looking at those. And it's just, pet costumes are expensive and they're kind of cheapy. And so I would love something for her that's a little bit more wearable and a little bit more high quality, because that's what we do here. All right. Looking here in the chat. Let's see. Will I be decorating for Halloween? Not this year. I think so it's funny, when I first started my channel, I was living in the loft apartment here, and it was really lovely to be in a space that was more or less done. Now that I'm in my house, it just feels like there's so many projects to be addressed that, like, actually need to happen in order to make the house livable that, I mean, my only Halloween decor is this little, like, dishcloth here. Look, isn't that fun? That's the only thing I have up right now, just because it doesn't feel like a priority for me to do that. But I'm hoping that as my house gets more finished down the line, I'll be able to prioritize like more Halloween decor. I am going to be doing some Christmas and holiday decor later this year because I have found some thrifted stuff and I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about that and to do some kind of like minor, like low key projects associated with that that aren't super time consuming. But I think, yeah, we're definitely going to do Christmas. We won't be doing Halloween this year, even though I love Halloween. I love this whole time of year. I love fall. So hopefully more of that in the future. I also think that I kind of, it's funny, we're just coming into October now, but I think I kind of missed the boat on that. It seems like, most YouTube content creators are already putting out their Halloween stuff so that people can get it and watch it before the season and everything. So I feel like I kind of missed the boat in terms of my like YouTube creator self doing that. Let's see. Wondering about the photo behind you. Is that a thrift haul? I've gotten questions about this before. This came from a like sort of antique store that used to be here in my town that has since closed. I There is someone that in the comments that was able to sort of like back search the photo and find it, but they have not been able to find a place to get it printed in this size or find what this is. I don't know how unique this is. It doesn't feel like it's like vintage or anything. I think it was like a printed reproduction at some point. So, I don't know. Not really my thrift find necessarily. Um, let's see. Are your parents retired? So glad they pitched in to help you. Yeah, lots of comments about my parents. They are wonderful. Um, they are retired. My mom used to work as a computer programmer, and she went back to work a little bit after she had my sister. My sister is about a year and a half older than me. That's another question here in the comments about my family. It's just me and my sister and my parents. So my mom has been more or less a stay-at-home mom for our whole life. My dad was in the military and then he took early retirement from Delta in 2020, when they were like, it was COVID and they were like wanting to like offload as many people as possible. So he took early retirement then. And so he's been retired for about 3 years now. And so it's been really nice timing in terms of having them help me out on my house, which is wonderful. But yeah, they are retired. Um, let's see. Biggest project you've done so far? I think it has to be the kitchen, just because it's funny, we're working on the studio now, and we just redid the ceiling. I don't know if we've seen that video, if we like that video, and it's funny because I remember that stage in the kitchen where we had finally ripped down the ceiling and we finally had put up the beadboard that's up there, and it just felt like, wow, like we're almost done. But then it was like another year and a half before the kitchen was done because there were just so many, projects and appliances and tiling the walls and all the things like that. They just took such a long time. And that was also before I was like, I don't know, there's been a big shift on my channel since the kitchen video went live actually, and sort of, that kind of blew up my channel a little bit. I feel like I'm able to dedicate more time to the renovations now, because I'm getting some sort of income from that. At the time that we were doing my kitchen, it was like I was working as a realtor. I was, trying to juggle different jobs to make money. And so it just stretched out the process a lot more. So that made that project feel even bigger. All right. How long have you been interested in older homes? You have a knack for decorating for the age of your home. Decorating and design has been my life too. Oh, that's awesome, Rob. All right. So for older homes, I never grew up in an older home. Growing up, a friend of mine they lived in like an old Victorian house downtown, and they would, I mean, like over the top decorate for Christmas. And so we would spend some Christmases at their house, and it was just a really lovely time. Um, I don't know. I think moving out of college and into my early life in New York, one of the things that I really liked about moving to New York was, the architecture and the older buildings and, living in places that had been around for a while. Um, and also the other big experience that I had with old things. I grew up doing some children's theater, and we were in a historic theater, and it ended up burning to the ground during one of the shows that we were doing. But it just I loved being in that building, like the way that it smelled, and it just had this like this sense that something there's I don't know, there's a little hippie of me perhaps, but I don't know, with older spaces, they just carry some sort of like leftover energy. And I think that's, I don't know, some people I think when they create like to be in a space that feels very clean and very neutral. And I feel like I like to be in a space that feels like it has those energies kind of bouncing around already. So yeah, I love my older home for that reason. I love when you walk into my house, it smells a little bit like an antique store or like a library. Love that. It's just nice to have some history that's there already. Um, in terms of working on an older home, I one of the questions that I got on Instagram was what other DIYers do I follow? Christine McConnell has been a huge inspiration for me. I don't share her like Halloween grandma aesthetic, but I love her channel because first of all, I think she gives an incredible amount of time and care into her projects. She's not just trying to churn out things to like make the YouTube crowd happy. But also, I think she really respects the spaces that she's in and gives it her own spin, but is like drawing from some of the architectural details and the things that are happening already in the space. So I love her channel. I also find one of the things that I've been self-conscious about as a YouTuber and as a content creator in general, I was sort of an Instagram influencer before I was on YouTube. Um, I think there's always a push to like you can only do one thing. You can only be one thing. Like if like home decor is going to be your thing, then every video has to be a makeover and every video has to be, in that realm. And I have varied interests. Some videos are going to be about art making, some videos are going to be about thrifting, some videos are going to be about my home renovation. And I feel like Christine does that on her channel where she just is like multi-talented in a lot of things and is like willing to bounce around between sewing and drawing or painting or renovating or whatever the thing is. And I really am inspired by that. So yeah, I think she taught me a lot about renovating an older home. Let's see. Let me back up a little bit here. Um, did you start learning carpentry from your dad, or did you start being interested in it when you were young? So my dad is one of those people that just like knows a lot about a lot of different things. And he has no like I don't like professional experience in these things, but he has. I have grown up in a DIY house always. My parents have always been working on their house, always renovating. In fact, they're still even now as they're working helping me renovate my house, they are continuing to work on their house, which hopefully we'll be doing some content over on their house as well, some decorating things if you guys want to see that. Um, so yeah, I have always been sort of in a house where we're doing that. I think that having it be my own home has sort of accelerated my process in terms of learning about renovation. It's a tough thing because, I think when I set out to do my home makeover, I thought, oh, I want to kind of do almost everything myself. And I just want to consult with my parents and like, just let them teach me how to do it so that I learn. And in some ways that's happened. In other ways, it's hard because, a lot of time and a lot of money have gone into my house so far. So it's like, I don't really want to like take the chance of messing things up. So it's sometimes just easier to pass things off to my dad, like here, like you make the cut, you do the thing, just because I know that he's going to have a better chance of getting it right than I am. But I'm really trying as we go to try to acquire new skills and to take on things that, A, can lift the workload from my parents because they're doing so much already. And B, I think that's a skill that's really undervalued now as young people in the world is like, can you actually do stuff? Like if your house were to like burn to the ground and you had no internet and no, whatever, it's like, how do you reconstruct? How do you know how to do anything? And so I feel like I have some definitive skills in sewing and I'm starting to get more in my house as well. Um, all right. Is YouTube your full-time job now? So that was a part of a question that I got as well about, my breakdown of how I make money. And no, YouTube is not my full-time job now. I would like for it to be. The more that my channel grows and the more visibility, the better in terms of that. So, anytime that you're watching a video, feel free to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It really does help their videos reach a wider audience. Um, Yeah, so in terms of, the whole YouTube growth thing, I did, I have maintained the feeling that, especially with my home renovation, these are projects that I would be doing anyway, so it, like, doesn't, all things considered, take that much more time to, like, turn on the camera and make a video about it, even though editing is killing me. Um, but, I did set out on my channel with the intention of making this more of a full-time gig, and it's, I have been on YouTube for over 3 years now, and I just monetized at the start of this year, and really did not start making any real money until my kitchen video went over 100,000 views. I made good money that month, and then since then, it's been kind of on a decline just because it's not every video is gonna be like a major algorithm pleaser, and I'm okay with that. Um, and it's important to me to hold on to, like, the integrity of making things that I really believe in. Again, that's another thing that I really respect about Christine and her channel is that she does whatever is right for her and her home. She's not trying to, like, hit the farmhouse trend when that's big, hit the apothecary cabinet trend when that's big. It's like I do keep an eye on other YouTubers and see kind of like if there's a way that I can sort of like push what I'm doing into a way that's a little bit more trendy. For example, with the kitchen video, like the whole like I hate trends thing, like that was a strategic move to get lots of eyes on that video because people love to see people talk about trends apparently, and it worked. So I think I'm always trying to think about how do I spin the things that I want to do into a YouTube friendly way so that I can reach the numbers that I need to be able to monetize in a way that is effective for me. Um, and additionally, I have gotten some sponsorships recently, so that's been good. No, it's not a full-time gig for me. So I still work at the Reissue Store part-time, which honestly I love. It comes and goes, but I think it's been really nice. At the time that I took that job just over a year ago, I think, being a creator in the online space and having moved here and not having a lot of in-person friends, at first I got my real estate license and I worked in real estate for 2 years. And then when I moved into working at the Restore more, it's nice to have an in-person job and to actually interact with people live. As wonderful as it is to be with you guys here and to be interacting with people digitally, it is, it becomes a certain part of my, like, you can only do so much virtually. You can only, do the whole like camera and interacting that way so much. And so it's nice to go to the Restore a couple times a week and to interact with customers and fellow employees in person. It's great to see things come through the store and to help, to use what I know about social media and about trends and styles and things to kind of, help support that mission. So yeah, that's kind of my life right now. Additionally, some people have asked about my dance career and choreography career. I am not doing a lot of choreography actively now. That is what I would consider to be my great love of art. That's where I express myself most fully. It's just one of those things where when I left New York, I was aware that there's a certain kind of like hamster wheel that you're on where you have to have your work continue to be seen and you have to have new work so that you can show it and submit it to things. And I've just sort of like fallen off of that track a little bit, just because it's hard to keep up with it with all the other things that I'm doing. So that is not really so much a thing, but my dance career is continuing to go a little bit. I'll be back in Boca Raton this November to do Nutcracker. I did that last year and I was there doing Giselle this spring. So I'll be back in the ballet realm a little bit. And then I am going to be in Chicago next year for 2 months dancing at Lyric Opera. I danced there last in 2019. That was my last opera gig that I did before COVID and my whole move and everything. So I auditioned there over the summer and I'll be working there next year for a couple of months. So that's going to be an interesting time for my channel. Let me know, Chicago people, is there any specific thrift places that I should hit up? I'm definitely gonna be doing a lot of thrift with me content there. Not really sure what else I'll be doing, but yeah, that will be a significant portion of my income for next year. All right. Whew. Your parents must be so happy to have you close by. Do you miss the big city? Are you happy to be home? Um, I well, first of all, back home, I did not grow up. My parents, I grew up in North Carolina. My dad worked for Delta, and so my parents purchased a home here in the Atlanta area in 2005. So this was sort of like a supplemental home. Like I've been in this area, more or less growing up, but I was not actually from here, which I think was nice. I don't know that I would have moved back to my hometown because it feels, I don't know, I feel like I've changed so much since I was in high school, and it's a thing of like returning to somewhere that you've already been is very different than going someplace new. Like when I moved here, I really didn't know anybody. And so it was just, I felt very anonymous and I felt like I had space to spread out and create, but without holding over all this baggage from like my old life, you know? Um, my parents are very happy to have me close by and I'm happy to be close to them as well. I've always been close with my parents. And so it's good to have that. Do you miss the big city? Or are you happy to be back home? I miss I don't know. So with New York, I love New York because there is a certain kind of energy there. There's a sort like I had so many friends there from school. I went to art school. And so I miss having that community of people that I'm really close to. I don't, I have some really good friends here now, but it's not quite the same as people that are like your art friends, you know? Um, I miss the access to cultural things. I've had some good experiences here lately, and I'm still kind of, it's hard moving to a new place. I mean, I know there's a lot in the Atlanta area. There's a lot of cool people, a lot of cool art happening. It's just hard. I'm far enough outside of the city that it feels like every time I go up there, it's a big trek, and I have to have a really good reason to be there. You can't just like float around. But I'm hoping to explore Atlanta a little bit more and get to know that a little bit. Let's see. Your bathroom is a masterpiece. Can't wait to see what you do with the other bathroom. Thank you so much. The other bathroom is going to be a little bit more like this. The vibe for this bathroom is very showy because it is a guest bathroom. The other one's going to be a little bit more zen, a little bit more low key, but still historic feeling. Um, have you gone to more Value Village or Goodwills? Have you found any good items? I went to the Goodwill here locally recently and I bought some belts. I found a belt. If you watched that video, I was looking for a belt. I actually am wearing a belt right now. I can hold up my pants now. Yeah, I mean, again, Goodwill is one of those things. And I thought about this too. It's funny with the Value Village. I feel like I kind of hated on Value Village in that video a little bit. And when I went back and watched the footage to edit afterward, I'm like, that leather suitcase was really cool. They did have some good clothing items there. So it's just, again, thrifting is hit or miss. It just didn't, Value Village didn't impress me in terms of like overall what they had that day, but you never know. Let's see. How many fireplaces are in your house? Any of them still safe to use? What is the heat source for your place now? I believe I have a heat pump, which, for the most part, living in Georgia, it doesn't get that cold here, so that's been fine. We did have such low temperatures last year that I did go and stay with my parents for a couple of days, like around Christmas time, because it was so cold here. Like my house literally couldn't get heated. I have 4 fireplaces in the house. Guest room, studio, living room, my bedroom. None of them are working currently. They were coal at the time that they were put in. There are, if you've ever noticed, there are pipes that come out of the ground. I think they could be run for a gas line. When we did the bedroom fireplace, my parents and I had long conversations about, do we bring in someone to look at doing a gas insert? If not to do it now, to do it later. I'm not entirely like opposed to doing that down the line, but we had sort of decided like I don't have gas run to the house at all at this time. I just the cost of what it would be to have gas run to the house, I don't think would be worth it to me. So, I don't think that we'll ever make those functional, but it's my goal to kind of keep them looking as historic and is, working with everything else as possible. Flanzella. Oh, hi, Leah. Totally agree with you in older homes. Oh, I love that. Do you follow the traditional architecture movement? No, I do not. Please tell me about what that is. I've never heard of that before. Don't forget to like this video, everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your likes. When did you first get into liking art decor? Also it's saying that an ad may run shortly for some videos. Do we talk through the ads or do we let the ad roll? Let's let the ad roll. All right. I don't know if the ad happened or not, but we'll let that happen. All right. When did you first get into liking art decor? So I think one of the things that I might want to do at some point, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but my grandmother's house she's near the Destin area in Florida. She passed in 2021, actually the day that I closed on my house, which is really sad. But she is someone that has fabulous personal style. And I, grew up visiting her house all the time. And, her house was decorated. So my granddad was military. And so my mom grew up kind of living all over England and Hawaii and all these places. And so my grandmother is sort of the original of like collecting things from wherever she went. She has a lot of antique Asian pieces. From the time they were in Hawaii. And so her house was built and decorated in the 90s. But she had a decorator come in and essentially decorate with all of her pieces. And so that is for me, that has been a huge inspiration because even though the house was decorated over 30 years ago, it's still, you can walk into the house and for the most part, it's aged really well because it's not like it was decorated with all of the 90s trends. It was decorated with things that she loved and that were personal to her. And so she was a big lover of kind of like off the wall art pieces and of course, Asian antiques, mid-century pieces. My black leather egg chair that's in my bedroom came from her house. So yeah, I grew up around that kind of environment. My mom is also a big fan of kind of like off the wall art. So yeah, really artsy decor is something that feels natural to me. And a lot of art is something that feels nice. Yeah. Um, it gets boring, less personal, like your channel, because you do so many various things. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate that. Again, it's hard. I think that sometimes I get it where like on Instagram or places, if you follow someone and you follow them for one specific thing, when they change it up, you're like, well, wait, that's not what I was expecting from you. But it just depends on the person if you like their aesthetic. Um, Really enjoy your fashion vlogs. Any more coming up soon? Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've done any sort of fashion decor or fashion, wardrobe kind of thing. Again, I haven't done that for a couple of reasons. I think one, that's a little bit more of a niche audience for me in terms of menswear. I think a lot of my viewers are women, which again, those could be applied, various techniques can be applied across the board. But I think it more comes down to I am so busy with renovation projects for my house that most of the projects that I'm doing are really geared toward that at this point. Um, but that doesn't mean that I won't do that down the line. If you have ideas of things that you want me to try to create, by all means, send those to me. Um, Family dynamic is just so wholesome. I love your parents. What is your sister like? My sister she's a COO of a tech startup. She's very driven and intense. She and I were very close growing up, and we're close again now. We sort of diverged a little bit in college because she went to Duke and was with smart people, and I went to art school and was with arty people. And so, we've reconnected, and yeah, no, she's very driven, and she's a cool person. Um, One YouTuber told me to replay their videos in the background to help the algorithm. Yeah, anytime you wanna watch, my videos or rewatch them, part of the thing is about views and part of it is about watched hours, and so the longer you watch a video, the more money I make on it. So if you're ever looking for a way to support me, by all means, rewatch my videos. Um, uh Have you considered collaborating with another YouTuber who has a big following to increase your subscribers? It depends. It depends on the person. I don't know that I don't know how I would reach out to. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that at this point. I'm not opposed to it by any means. It just depends on the person, and I don't know that I've really identified someone that is like close enough to my YouTube subscriber. Like, I mean, of course, I follow some really really huge people, but I don't really know why they would be incentivized to work with me. I guess. So it just depends. I can imagine that Restore people, shoppers, and staff are inspiring for you too. Yeah, it's been really cool, and it's been actually cool lately. I've had a lot of people recognize me from my videos when they come into the store. They're like, "Oh, you look familiar." You're like, "Are you a YouTube creator?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So it's been cool to meet some of you guys in person. Um, does it ever become exhausting living in the home while renovating it? Do you need to get away from it? Are you stressed? Your mind must be always going. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing we've turned a corner in the last year. Once I think the bathroom was done, I now exclusively use that bathroom, and it feels like a wonderful experience. Working in the kitchen is a wonderful experience. And there's enough rooms in my house that are done now that it feels, kind of it feels kind of okay. And especially the bedroom. Actually, the bedroom was really the time that it was like I now have a place that I can sort of really fully relax and decompress, that I didn't have before. I think, I had, with the studio, I think, again, we're just like building on levels here. Once the studio is done, I think I'll feel a lot more organized. Um, there's just so much stuff that's gone into that room. And so, um, yeah, it is stressful, and I think the biggest stressor for me, honestly, is, I've been really making an effort to upload weekly because that's what they say that YouTubers should do, and because I think, as I build a rapport with an audience, I know with YouTubers that I follow, I look for them to upload. I look forward to their videos, and I look for that every week, and so I wanna be offering that to people, but it takes a lot of time, depending on the project. Every project is different, so every edit is different, and it's always hard to know how much time it's gonna take and how much is gonna go into it, and, I get to the last minute, and I'm not happy with how the project's looking, and I need to put in more time to make it come out the way that I want it to be, and so that aspect of it can be pretty stressful for sure. Um, Being an artist in NYC is exhausting and hard to maintain. That's how I ended up in a smaller town. Absolutely. So awesome you're doing a live. I'm glad you're enjoying this so far. Did your neighbors just love your front porch redo? The porch has to be so inspiring to set up the rest of the streetscape there. Yeah, I have had a couple people in the neighborhood comment, which was really nice, particularly on the artwork. Someone asked me if that was like someone in my family. I'm like, no, it's just some random dude. Um, yeah, it's a little weird with my house now. I should show you like a full, a zoomed out look. The port, like again, it's funny what you do for a video. There is some element of like movie making magic that goes into it, where the porch looks perfect and it still looks perfect, but the rest of my house is still like orange and green, and the whole thing. Like if you back up and zoom out to the whole, it just looks really weird. I've been looking into doing some, the exterior of the house needs some like fascia repair and some molding replacement and stuff. And so I've been looking into doing that, but it's just so expensive, and I don't think I can DIY that at this time. So my house is going to continue to look like, sort of a split personality, where the porch feels like one house and everything else feels like another house. You're my favorite because of the quality of your work. Oh, thank you. Would love to see more videos. It's a lot of work. Yeah, thank you. Fellow YouTuber here from NYC. I enjoy your channel. It's hard work. I appreciate you. Thank you. When are your parents going to speak? Yeah, this is a hard one. So one of the questions that I got here that I really loved, um, let's see, where is that one? Have there been times when your parents don't see your vision? How do you navigate that? So I'm just going to kind of loop all this together. So it's interesting working with my parents. As I mentioned, I grew up in a DIY kind of household where, my mom taught me how to sew. My dad was always renovating. My parents were constantly, it was like we painted the house that I grew up in multiple times. This color, let's try it. Let's go. Let's rearrange the furniture. It just was always that kind of vibe. And so, of course, that's inspiring. I think my parents recognized early on that I was really creative and that I was going to be an artist in some way. That being said, I don't think they really identify, neither of them really necessarily comes from an artistic background. And so I think they don't necessarily think of themselves as being creative. And so working on my house with them has been an interesting process. I think, I don't know, it's funny how you can know someone. I just turned 31 this week. And it's funny how you can know someone for 31 years and you continue to learn more about them and more from them. And it's been working on my house has been like, they've always given me some leeway in terms of helping them create their house and choose paint colors and pick out furniture and that sort of thing. But it's been an interesting time working on my house because I think I've learned a lot from them in the sense at times in the past, I've been that person that's like, I don't care how it feels. It doesn't have to be comfortable. It doesn't have to be functional. It just has to look good. Like that's for a while, especially with clothing, that used to be totally my MO. Like I don't care if it's comfortable as long as it looks good. And as I get older and, as you become an adult, you're like, there's no reason that it can't be both. And so why not make it beautiful and functional? And so with my house, my parents, my mom specifically, have always been the function police, where it's like I come up with an idea and they're like, yeah, but like, is that really going to work? And is that how does it function? How do you live in that space? And that's been a really helpful voice for me to hear in this process. I think that's one of the things that I hear from you guys that's been really successful about a lot of my renovations, is that it's like, I'm not just looking to make something that looks good for a video. I'm actually looking to make a space that feels functional and is like the best use of a space. That means that it takes a lot more time to think about every aspect of the process. And that means that, it's just harder to think about how is form meeting function in that way. And I think that's where my parents have learned a bit from me in this, where it's, I think sometimes with their renovations on their house, they're sort of like, oh, it's good enough. Like it's, we'll just like, oh, we found that, like we'll put that in there, that'll be good. And the thing that I've seen with that over time is like when something is good enough for now, it never really feels done because it's like nothing ever really feels like it fully goes together. And then when it doesn't have that moment where you're like, this is it, it looks right, then over it just, you never really feel satisfied over time. And that's something again that I learned from my grandmother's house where it's like it was done at one point in time and it really hasn't changed much over 30 years. And that's really my strategy for my house. Of course, things can evolve. And of course, I'm going to continue moving decor pieces around. But for the most part, when I'm choosing paint colors and I'm choosing finishes, I'm not looking to redecorate my house every couple of months or every couple of years. I really want things to last a long time. And so I think it's been sort of satisfying for me to see my parents actually get to see my vision fully realized. Like I am always pushing like, no, like everything has to work together. Like there's a real eye toward detail there of like anything that doesn't fit with the look has to go. We have to, really make it feel right. And I think that allowing that to happen, they've seen that it really does work that way. So it's interesting. Again, hopefully I'll be helping them work on their house a little bit. And again, I'm in a more mature place in terms of my design eye. And I think that they are a little bit more trusting of what I can actually bring to the table. So we might be doing that. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think so. In terms of bringing them on camera more, it feels a little weird. I don't feel like they really signed up for this. Like they, obviously they're helping with my house and they're happy to help in that. But I don't. I guess I can have a conversation with them about how much they want to be on camera. But in terms of our conversations about things, it's just hard to capture that on camera in a way that feels authentic. But yeah, I mean, I think I should introduce them or share a little bit more with them. I think that might be fun. Let's see. In Chicago area that have Wolf's Flea Market on Sundays, May through October. I'll be there in February and March, so that may not be an option for me. It's hard. Every time I've gone there in the winter. So I know that everything is a little bit more shut down in the winter because of the cold. In the quest for beautiful objects and good deals, how do you make sure you don't start hoarding? Love that question. And that's something I actually am thinking a lot about more recently. I found it is I found myself a lot recently. It's a hard thing working at the Reissue Store because you see really cool stuff come in all the time. And it's I start to have a little bit of like a FOMO thing where like, oh, if I don't buy this today, I'm not going to find something like it again. Because there's nothing worse than like when I go into a project and I'm like, what would really make this room work would be this. That thing that I saw 3 months ago that I didn't think that I needed. I really wish I had that now. That's a really dangerous feeling for me because then I'm like, well, I might need that. I might need that. And then you start holding on to stuff. I will say, as my house starts to creep toward being done, I find myself slowing down that process a lot because, I used to be buying stuff like anything I thought was cool, like add to cart, sure. But now, my guest room is kind of going to be the last room that's like anything that doesn't fit anywhere else is kind of going to end up in there. And then I'm going to edit that and see what works together. And then everything else kind of has to go or get, I can maybe resell or redonate or what the thing, I don't know what exactly is going to happen there. I will say that I moved from I guess the square footage is not terribly different from my apartment to where I am in my house now, but there's so many more rooms. There's a lot more to fill. And I think that my aesthetic is a bit more maximalist now than it has been in a while. And it takes a lot of stuff to fill a space like that and make it feel right. It is a hard line between being, well collected and being a hoarder. But at the same time, at this point, I'm kind of allowing myself to collect things that I think are really beautiful to achieve that kind of look where I think that there's like minimalist and then there's cluttered and then there's maximalist. And I feel like if you sit in the middle with just kind of some stuff, it just feels like cluttered. Introduce your parents, please. Noted. I'm thinking you're a Libra. Yes, I am a Libra. Let's see. It's jumping around here on me. Always creative, or does it come in waves? It definitely comes in waves, and it definitely depends. Like one of the questions that I got on, I think was on the YouTube thing It was about when I feel inspired and how I feel inspired. And that person said that, they feel, as I think they're a designer, and they feel inspired when they see a need that needs to be met. And, they get inspired by that process. And I say I would agree with that. I think that I feel inspired when there's something that is existing that is a problem that needs to be solved. I think that sometimes we think of creativity as being something that's kind of like a divine intervention, like you just have this brilliant idea. And sometimes it does happen that way for sure. But I think of, I guess I would think of creativity. And again, this goes back to my parents thinking about themselves as being creative. My parents are the ultimate problem solvers. Like that's how their brains work. And that for me is the ultimate creativity, because it's, sure, it's one thing to have a good idea, but it's another thing about how to like use the restraints that you have to execute something that's really masterful. So yeah, it comes in waves, but I think it's often driven by like a problem that needs to be solved. Um, let's see. Traditional architecture movement was created because students are learning to design gray concrete boxes, and it's a pushback on the awful trend to move back into more human scale urban design. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I think I will definitely look into that more. I am happy to see, and this is something. It's funny, when I made my kitchen video, some people pointed this out in the comments, where I do feel like I was drawing from a lot of like 2021 trends. But over the last couple of years, we have seen a trend toward traditionalism, where spaces are more enclosed again, and there's more built-ins and dark colors and this kind of dark academia. There's a certain kind of traditional thing that's happening that I love. So I'm glad that that's kind of trending again, and that people are understanding. I think that those spaces, I don't know, for me, those spaces feel good because there's a nostalgia element, and there's just a warmth and a coziness. And I think that that feels a lot nicer than this gray concrete thing. Art Deco would fit really well with your design. Absolutely. Does Queenie live with you? She's adorable. Yes, she does live with me. She stays with my parents quite a bit. She loves my parents, and they love her too. So she stays with them sometimes, but most of the time she's here with me. Being in Georgia, do you ever make it to Savannah? Most beautiful city in America. I have only been to Savannah once. When I was in high school, I did a summer workshop thing at the Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, and it was beautiful. I mean, I wish, I should go there as an adult, because it's probably a very different experience. And I was very nervous at that time. But yeah, I do remember it was beautiful, and I would love to head that way. I have not been that way since then. Studio ceiling is incredible. Thank you. Would you be able to install small wood stoves in the fireplaces? So that's another thing. If we jump back to fireplaces for a second, the chimneys, like if you go up in the attic and you see the chimneys coming through, they're not in great shape. They have some damage. They have some bricks missing. So there would be a whole chimney repair process there. It just depends on how much money I want to pour into that, because that's not really a DIY job at that point. Any plans for a garden? So I do have like a potted garden out on my patio. My coworker at the Reissue Store, Susan, is very into like eco-friendly, and she has a lot of plants. So she has gifted me a number of plants this year, including a lot of seedlings. So I have tomatoes and squash and peppers and things like that growing outside. In terms of my whole outdoor in general, I'll probably hit that on a video at some point. My one of the previous owners of my home used to be a landscape art, or he was a landscape architect, or he still is. He's since left the house. But he there are a number of like ponds and waterfalls and all these sort of stone features. He kind of specialized in stonework. And so the whole yard had been incredibly overgrown, and we're sort of trying to like pick that back. There's a lot of really cool plants around still. But yeah, that will be a project moving forward, of just making the outdoors look a little bit better, and restoring the ponds. So it'll be a pond out front and a pond with a waterfall in the back. I was surprised to see you have online merch. You should definitely mention that more in your post. Love your channel. Oh, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I do have a website. It is linked on my channel, reissued.store. I sell my artwork there. I need to be better about uploading or putting up more of my clothing items and other things that I'm selling there. I just have a lot hanging around that I need to kind of offload. So I'll definitely be doing that in the next couple of months, over November, December, for holiday season, in case you're looking for gift ideas for people. The note cards there have been very, very popular. I think it's a great gift idea. I love to send little art cards to people. I love to receive them. Because I think, if you're going to spend $5 on a greeting card, you might as well send someone that's something that they can put in a little 5x7 frame or 4x6 frame and hang on their wall, right? Do you share dance content elsewhere? I love your channel. Okay, so getting into the dance side of my things, I had a lot of questions about that, about my choreography life and my dance life. I my Instagram is probably the best place to follow me for that sort of thing. I am at the Andrew Harper. I have a separate choreography account that I have not uploaded anything in forever, just because I haven't been making that much. And again, I'm thinking about combining those again, combining my choreography with my main Instagram account again. I used to do it that way, and then it was like, no, you can only do one thing, and so then I separated it out. Do you want to see more dance content on my Instagram? Is that something that's interesting to you? I have had some people that were interested when I did the collage video. I shared a little bit about one of my dance films there, and there was some interest in that. Are you wanting to see more of that? Those films I had made with the intention of doing a live event in New York City in 2020, and then COVID happened, and then they've one of them has been like totally sitting in post production for like 3 years. Oh, Queenie, you're awake. Hey, do you want to see our friend? Am I going the wrong way? Where are you? Hi, baby. All right. Everyone say hello to Queenie. Do you want to see dance films from me? Is that something that, I should be doing maybe some sort of live stream event for? Do you want to see that? Let me know. What breed of dog is Queenie and where did you get her from? So she is from the Pound. She was $25. Hey, are you okay? You need to go lie down. She's up and ready to go. Okay. So other thing to note about my life here is that every time I'm working on a project, Queenie gives me about a good 45 minutes to an hour before she needs something. So every time I'm trying to like budget my time to like, when is Queenie going to need me next? But no, we think she is part mini schnauzer and part dachshund. Yeah, but I got her at the Pound. She was the pet of the week in the newspaper, and so my mom sent me the listing, and we went and got her that day. Do you need a boyfriend to come out and help you? I'm very handy. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird question to answer. I am single. I am looking to date potentially. I don't, I don't know. um, yeah, dating here in the sticks is a little bit hard. And it's hard to get up to the city always to go on a date because it just feels like a lot of pressure. Um, just be careful about your privacy. I'm a mama bear. Sorry, I always worry. See, there you go. Exactly. Um, all right. I used to be the same wearing clothes and shoes that were so uncomfortable but look great. Exactly. Um, do you entertain dinner parties? Do you enjoy sharing new completed projects with friends? Are they excited about what you're doing? This is the thing. I always say that I'm going to. I'm like, I'm gonna have a big party. I've entertained a couple times in my house. It's just always a hard thing where it's like I feel like I'm under construction, and so it's like it's always hard to think about when your house is going to be done enough to have people in it. And I always think like I should just do it anyway. It's just hard with the schedule to kind of like set aside a time to make that happen. But yeah, I know I do love to entertain people. I think that's fun. And I think I always, when I'm thinking about designing my house, I'm always thinking about what are various places that people can have a conversation in, or, I always picture my house as being a big party house. So, hopefully we'll be doing that sometime. In our 30s, we dropped the corsets. It's funny, for one of the shows that I actually did for a lot of my career, I was wearing a corset for the entire show, and I loved it. I felt so cinched. You know that you have the same type of mustache as previous king of Germany did. I did not know that. Have you been to Helen, Georgia? My partner and I are looking at property there. I have not. Even when I was working as a realtor, I don't really go out that far. Let's see. Is there a design era that you love most? I am torn. I like a lot of different things. Mid-century is obviously, I don't know. I loved that before it was trending. Like one of my very first thrifted purchases in college, I got a mid-century sofa at Goodwill for $50. It was not in great shape, which is why it's not still with me, but love mid-century. I think my house has pushed me in a lot more of a historical direction. So I'm liking more Art Deco, that sort of thing as well. More traditional styles. Join lately. How does it feel to have gained so many subscribers in the last couple of weeks? It's been a mixed bag, to be honest. Again, I I'm tremendously I try to remind myself just in general to not be anxious and to be grateful, you know, it's like it's like if I have a video that doesn't do very well or it's not my channel doesn't feel like it's growing, then I feel like I'm not doing enough or I should be, you know, why is this worth it? Or, you know, I go to that place. But then at the time, you know, it was really again, it was after the kitchen video and then I did an art video after that. And both of those videos just kind of exploded. And like all at once, I was getting a lot of comments, people commenting on my appearance, people commenting on they didn't like my style. They didn't, you know, like I was getting a lot of negative feedback for the first time. And, or just, I just had this feeling that a lot of eyes were on me for the first time, where it was like before I was just kind of making whatever. And like, maybe some people will watch it. And then suddenly it was like, oh, okay, like everything has to be good now because people are actually watching you. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm just trying to remain like in a feeling of like contentment and gratitude. You know, I'm very happy that you know, I've worked very hard to be at a place where people are actually wanting to watch my content. And so I'm really grateful to everyone out there for wanting to watch. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, I'm just trying to remain in that headspace and just take it as it comes. Again, it's hard where, you know, my channel, it sort of exploded and now it's sort of like petered off a little bit. And then it makes me worry, like, am I doing the right thing? Um, Always feel free to give me, you know, feedback in the comments about the kind of content that you want to be seeing. I do feel like I want to be making what I want to make because that is, you know, a big part of why I think I've resonated with people is that I'm making things that I'm genuinely interested in. I'm not trying to keep up with the trend. But at the same time, we are doing the YouTube thing. And so if there's something specific that you want to see from me, um, feel free to hit that up. You can always drop that in the comments over here. Let's see. Stay authentic to your style. That's what we like. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I think I mean, again, that's something that I'm always trying to, that's always the goal. I think it's funny, again, it's around the time it was the thrifted furniture video. Um, I got to this place. It was when we were getting ready to do the bedroom makeover or like to complete that video. And there was just, I just felt a lot of pressure on that one because that was my first sponsored video with Brooklyn and I wanted to do a good job and I knew that that would be good. And I like reached this point with my parents. I'm like, I don't even know what I think anymore. Like they would ask me like, well, what do you know, should we do this or this? I'm like, I don't even know. Like I can't, like, I just was so bogged down with like people's opinions. And so it's been a good exercise in me just, you know, trying to continue through and just stay true to myself, you know. Um, don't worry about putting out perfect videos. That's why we like you. Yeah, that's a fine line too. You know, I get some feedback where it's like, you know, maybe don't edit as much, maybe don't worry about it being perfect. And I get that, but I guess I always try to put out the kind of video that I like to watch. And when I think about the, you know, the YouTube videos that I watch, there is a certain amount of there's a sort of a kind of a driven pacing and you know, there's just something that feels I don't know. I always want to ride that line. I want to remain authentic and I want to keep things in that feel personal and real, but I also want to kind of keep the pace going so that people stay interested, you know. Um, I want to see, let's see, I have some more questions here that were addressed on Instagram. We'll probably wrap this up in a couple minutes unless you're just having the time of your life and want to talk forever. But I think Queenie's kind of reaching her limit here. How do you make a schedule for renos? How do you keep from jumping projects? That's a great question. So that's also another thing that has changed significantly since my channel has gotten more popular. Again, it was before that I was a little bit more haphazard in the way that I uploaded it, and it was a little bit more haphazard in the way that I renovated. But like since I started getting a lot of eyes on my channel, I made some big changes in terms of like my parents and I will sit down and we'll plan out for like a month in advance of like which videos we're going to do and how much time different projects are going to take. And it's hard because things always take longer than we plan, and so then we're cramming at the last minute, and there's a lot to do. But yeah, it's in terms of jumping projects, having a channel has been really good for that, where it's like ultimately, I don't know, that's a funny thing with my parents too, is my mom has a little bit of like she's has kind of a mastermind thing where she's like, if we do this and then this and then this, like jump from this room to this room, then we could get this done and then that can happen. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to put out a video. Yeah, but what's the story of the video? Like, what room are we doing? You know, like there's a push and pull there. Hey, do you want to come sit with me? Come on. Can I hold you? Come up here. Let me hold you. All right. All right. There we go. Everyone gets some Queenie time here. But yeah, so with having a YouTube channel has been a good kind of driver for that to kind of keep us in one room at a time or one space a little bit at a time. Um, um, but yeah, that's been a big change. What other YouTubers you watch? Lone Fox or McKenna? I watch Lone Fox sometimes. I think I'm always a little hesitant to do the compare and contrast thing. Like it's hard. I found with YouTube content, I actually watched a lot of like makeup tutorials or like doll customizing videos, like weird things that have nothing to do with me, just because it feels like it's a little bit more relaxing that way. Whereas when I keep an eye on DIY Danny or Alexander Gator or Lone Fox, I'm always, I sometimes I find their content really entertaining, and other times it's just more of a thing of like, what can I learn from them? Like they've made massive platforms and they're doing great work on the channel. And so how can I learn from that? It's more of a learning exercise than like an entertainment thing, but I do enjoy watching their content for sure. Um, you're doing great with the channel. Oh, thank you. Newer subscriber, love your content, love your mix of art and creative projects. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit a couple more questions here and then we will hit the hour mark and peace out. Let's see. I think we hit a lot of. Oh, when stripping paint off a door, you used a heat gun first and then the solvent. Is that best? So, everyone has different opinions on this. If you've ever seen my comment section on any of my paint stripping videos, I've asked for feedback. I've gotten great feedback from people. Definitely, there's a wealth of knowledge out there in the comments, so hit that up. I'm not necessarily the best person to ask for that. Lately, my paint stripping thing has been. I really am all about the heat gun. Heat gun all the time. Using a paint stripper has been a mixed bag for me, partly because like currently now I'm stripping the fireplace in the studio, and in the living room, in the bedroom, we took out the mantle to finish the stripping process. This one we're really trying to leave it in the room and not take it out. So stripping things is much easier when you're on a horizontal surface, so that you can just like put the stripper on there and let it set. I haven't found it to be that successful for me vertically. And also I find like with a heat gun, you heat it up and you melt it off and then it dries and then you're good. As opposed to like when you're working with a stripper, you're definitely on a timeline. And so if you like put it on a certain area, then you like have to continue until it's done. And so I like with the heat gun, I can just do 30 minutes and then be done. And the mess is minimal and it's just easier for me. So I've been doing everything with the heat gun now and then just going in with sanding afterward. May not be the right choice for everybody, but that's what's been working for me. All right. Great Q&A. We think we need more down the road. Awesome. We can do this again. If you wanted to see this again, definitely hit the like button. Let me know that you want to see more like this. I wanted to hit one more question. Someone asked me if, let's see. Once you're all done with the renovations on your home and a former owner, family member of a former owner asked you offer you a considerable amount of money to purchase your home, would you be tempted to sell? So that is a great question. It would have to be a big amount of money. And I think, having worked as a realtor before, I know that I know when I purchased my house that there's limitations in terms of value based on the location. There's just limitations in terms of how high the number can go. I know that I've added value to my house by adding a bathroom. I think that, that would affect the amount that it would appraise for. But for the most part, like my house is not going to appraise for an amount that would like be worth it to me just to sell it, unless I'm looking to move on in life. I'm trying to, I think sometimes I alternate between this feeling of wanting everything to be permanent and like, this is going to be forever. But then also recognizing that life changes really quickly and everything is kind of impermanent. And so if the situation arose where I needed to sell my house, I would do it. But yeah, it just at this point, no, it would have to be a really, really big cash offer for that to be a thing. And then final question here. Let's see. Any final questions? Let's see. There was one more that I really wanted to hit. Oh, some little quick fun ones. As a dancer, how realistic is the movie Center Stage? Let me know in the comments. Have you seen the movie Center Stage? I love that movie, like unironically. Love I don't know. I think that's one of the best dance movies there is. I grew up on, there was like the Step Up era, and all the dance movies came out. And that one is just there's just great dancing in that. They hired legitimate dancers for a lot of it, and for the ones that they did dance doubles, it was for really great actors. Fun fact: Ethan Stiefel, who plays Cooper Nielsen in that movie, was my teacher when I was in college. So there's a personal connection there as well. But it was funny. I don't know. I guess for me, that's also a thing of like at that time when I went to school there was so much talent in the school because everyone was so drawn by him. Like he was such a star at that time, and we'd all grown up watching that movie. So I don't know. It's just it was like so of the moment, and the dancing in that movie is great. The choreography in that movie is great. Like they hired legitimate choreographers to do it. Um, so yeah, I think we're just gonna end on that fun note here. And again, let me know if you want to see another live like this. I had a really good time. I really, really appreciate you being here and watching and hitting me up in the comments. And I'm so grateful for your continued support here on the channel. I got to go take Queenie out, and I'll see you guys soon.